cool. All right. So scalp is pretty simple. It's gonna be in and out, getting out of trades, lower time frames, right? Things of that nature. Let me write that. And TF doesn't stand for which I think it is. Time frame. So intraday. Intraday traders, family, do you all realize that most of us in this business are usually intraday traders, right? At least that's how it was when we started, right? Most of us are in a position where we get in trades, we hold it for hours. Drop one in the chat if you're somebody that takes signals, or you take trades and you hold them for a couple hours, or you hold them for 30 minutes, or it's a lot of new people. It's a lot of new wave of people that love to scalp more than anything else. But if you're an intraday trader, drop it in the chat. Yeah, I'm a scalper. I'm a swing trader. Cool. All right, it's gonna be a couple people. All right, I see P5 says she's a multi-trader. P2 loaded. Corinne say, no, don't fold. All right, so intraday usually is gonna say an hour plus, but the way that a lot of people do not have patience nowadays, it seems to be 30-minute plus, right? 30 minutes plus. So I can go ahead and put 30 minutes. I could put 30 plus minutes, right? For you to be able to swing trade. Now that's gonna be up to, let's say, a few hours. As long as it's not 24 hours, as long as it's not 20 plus hours, family, there's gonna be an intraday trading. If it's within one day, that's what intraday is gonna mean, right? So you want to be able to understand those differences. Now, when you're intraday trading, right? The same type of move that you might pay attention to on here, right? The same type of move that you might pay attention to on here. I might be able to go to the 1 hour time frame, right? And now I'm gonna pay attention to the market as it is right now, right? So as I see, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, all right, cool, it's still in that uptrend, right? Beautiful uptrend. It couldn't get any more perfect than that, for being more honest, right? Low, high, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, higher, right? So we could say that it's trying to come down to form that higher low, but it might just stay right here. It might just be retesting that resistance that it broke, and going up just like that, right? But on that intraday trade, let me go ahead and show y'all something. Where's the rule of that? Right? This move right here, this same type of move. Remember on that 5 minute, we saw uptrend as well, but it wasn't this long, right? So we could say this uptrend on that intraday trade would have been about, what was that, 300 pips, right? 300 pips, if I'm not mistaken, with Bitcoin. And then on the 5 minute, it still was an uptrend. But on this one, if you would have caught the whole move, you would have got like 100 pips, right? So it's a big difference on what they are. If I'm not mistaken, that might be 3,000 pips and 1,300 pips. I'm pretty sure. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's 3,000. Let me see what y'all saying. Oh, facts. All right, now we're gonna get into my favorite one. Swing trading, right? Swing trading, family. For intraday trading, family, when it comes to products, we can name a million products. We can name DeLorean. We can name, bro, I'm not gonna lie, Gold Cup, Swipe Coin Scalper. Almost every single FRX product low-key has to do with intraday trading, except a few, right? Except a few, very, very, very select few. Right? If you have some, go ahead, throw them in the chat. Harmonic scanner is always gonna be thorough, for sure. Right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Right, so as we saw on this 5 minute, you could have caught 1,300 pips on the uptrend, but on this hour chart, you could have caught 3K. You could have caught 3K moves from the same type of trend in the same direction, right? It's just two people catching it different ways. Now, let's go up to this 4 hour. Right, let's go up to this 4 hour. Now, this same type of uptrend, instead of catching it right here, the person who was in it from the beginning of the move, it low-key started down here, if we're being completely honest. And that's a good 3,000 pips just off of this wick right here. Just off of this wick, that's 3,000 pips for you being able to catch it from right here to right here. But we're not even gonna count that. We're not even gonna count that. We're not even gonna cheat like that, right? We're gonna start it from right here where the support line is, right? Let me go ahead and mark it up for you. All right, so we got our support right here in this area. And we see the price just simply bounced off of it, right? If we were on a higher time frame, we could have seen, all right, it's going down, it's going down. This is probably a support for previous zones, and we saw that it rejected it once, twice, came back, rejected it 3 times, showed that the bearish pattern was not trying to break, and then it bounced off and then rejected. So we could say, all right, cool, I'm gonna get into the buy right here with other analysis clearly. But we're gonna say, look, I'm gonna get into the buy to this to this next resistance zone, right? So because we see clearly this is the next resistance, especially based on this area right here. And what you can do is you can go back in time, and it's called back testing, right? You can see, remind you, I've only marked this up from what you all have seen is what I've seen. I haven't looked at this previously. Look, same thing, zone, right? Clearly, this is a major, major support zone. So when we mark that up, when it came down to it this next time, we could have said, oh, wow, I'm sure it's going to repeat what it did in history and reject off of it. And it did exactly that, right? Let's see if we can see anything. Look, y'all, I can't make this up. Can't make this up. The person that's on the higher time frame, they would have seen this. They would have seen how major this support zone was. How long it's been since it's actually broke that support zone. And they would have marked it up. So let's say you was right here and the market was right here and you see that it's dropping down, right? We see that this is also a major support and resistance zone, the one that we marked up before without even looking back here yet. So we see that this zone right here is really important, really important. If it breaks this zone, we say, okay, cool, clearly it's gonna go to this zone. And when it gets to this zone, I'm gonna look in the previous history and see, oh, how it reacted to these zones. And it's as simple as seeing those and waiting for the candles to show you you're exactly right. We see, what's this pattern right here called, family? Somebody let me know. What's this right here? Boom, boom, boom. Somebody gotta know. Somebody gotta know. I'm gonna show it one more time. Show it one more time. Boom, 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 boom. There y'all go. 3 black crows, right? Beautiful, beautiful. But then you see the wick exhaustion, right? So on these candles, when you're seeing these long wicks, reject after at a certain rate, towards a certain way. So if you look up here, you can see the wick started to reject higher versus lower. If they rejecting longer upwards than downwards, that means that whatever area is above it they're rejecting it. The price isn't trying to go above it, right? So as we see, it's a bunch of wick rejection going up. So that could show us, all right, cool. That's exhaustion. It's probably about to drop down, and that's what it did. You can see it right here. Boom. The wicks was rejecting down here. Reject, 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 right? Reject, reject, reject. And so we see over here, same thing. Look, wicks were rejecting down here. So if we go over here, right, we see the wick start to reject, reject, boom, candle. The candle clearly has a big major rejection off of that zone. Big major rejection off of that zone. Another major rejection. We gone, right? So you being on this time frame and you simply marking up two zones and being able to just see how price reacts off of them, how the candlesticks react off of them. Family, let's see how many pips it could have caught. Where we at right now? At about 4,000 pips, right? And if you catch the whole move, which most likely you would have done and caught it from down here, 6,000 pips. So it's just simply about the time frames that you're using. If I go to the higher time frame, even if I go to the day, it's gonna show the same things. It's gonna show these same things. Look what these wicks tell you. The wicks tell a story, family. So you all have to make sure that you're studying the wicks, family. So now that we're looking at something like this, right? Whether you're scalping, swing trading, holding trades for a long time, right? This trade that we just saw with the 4,000 pips, you most likely would have entered that trade and got out of it. Now I'm going to show you how to maximize your profits off of the trade right after this. It's going to be dope. But in this moment, right, I want to explain something to you when it comes to trading, just how simple trading really, really needs to be. Don't overcomplicate it. My job on this call is to show you how simple it is to trade and how much more easier the products will make it for you to be able to trade at a much more efficient rate, right? So if we look at this zone, we see it's either going to bounce off of zones, right? It's either going to bounce off of the zones. Let's go ahead and use this mark. Right, we know that that's weak. Right, so we know that it's either gonna bounce off of these zones or what? If it doesn't bounce off of the support and resistance, what does it do? If it doesn't bounce off of them, what does it do? It's gonna break. It's gonna break. We all know that, right? We all should know that. Cool. Now, if it breaks, what does it do after it breaks? Somebody please excite me. Somebody please make me happy. Oh my God. Retest. Let's go. It's gonna retest. Beautiful. All 300 of you are going crazy. So if you don't know what a retest is, right? Every time that the candles break a certain zone, a certain support or resistance, it has to come back and test that zone, right? So we're gonna come back, and then we're at the same step. We're at the same step. Look, let's write the steps down. Let's write the steps down real quick. Let me see something. All right. So, step one. Well, I don't know if I want to. These aren't necessarily steps, but these are the way that the market moves, right? It's gonna go in these ways every single time, right? So it's either gonna bounce off support or resistance, right? It's either gonna bounce off support or resistance. If it doesn't bounce off of the support or the resistance, it's two other things that it's going to be doing. It's either going to be riding the support or riding the resistance. What is that called, family? What does it mean when it's just riding alongside the support or riding alongside the resistance? It's not breaking it. It's not bouncing it. What is it doing? Consolidating, 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 consolidating. Family, consolidation is going to be when the market is simply just moving sideways. And most of the time when it's moving sideways because it's not able to break a support or a resistance just yet. And if it's not moving sideways, let me write that down. Or consolidator. Consolidation, right? Or it's floating in between. And usually it's consolidating, right? Usually it's gonna be consolidating, but if it's floating in between the support or the resistance, it's usually not really gonna be doing anything of an importance. When it's floating in between, and when it's usually consolidated, right? I'm gonna mostly do this, but because with the consolidation, you can find great entries off of it floating on the support, and it's showing you price action that shows you bullish momentum, and you can buy it off of that support after it's been buying off of it. But I'll explain that in a second, right? So 3, floating in between. Never trade. Never trade when it's between the support and the resistance. Never trade in between the zones. It's pointless. You don't know where the market is gonna go. You have no idea, right? So never trade when it's between. Now, when it bounces off support or resistance, or it can consolidate, it can float in between. Another word for bouncing off support or resistance is called ranging, right? It's called ranging. So that example that I drew, I wish I could move the box out the way, that I drew with the yellow lines just bouncing off support and resistance, that's called range, right? When this is going up and down, right? Ranging, consolidating. Now, the other option that it has is to break. It's to break through. It's gonna break through a support or a resistance. Now, after it breaks through, the next step, I'm gonna put these right next to each other, is retest. All right, retest. Now, when it retests, your job is to find a good entry when it's at support or resistance. Your job is to first know what market, what trend you're in, right? Whether it's an uptrend or a downtrend. Remember, we looked at that already with Bitcoin. We saw we were in an uptrend, right? And then we went on a higher time frame. We saw that it was kind of consolidating, right? But when we broke it down, we were able to see exactly where the market was on those lower time frames, right? That's called top-down analysis. When you're able to go on the higher time frames and you break it down to the lower time frames to see. So if you go on a day chart, you kind of see where the market is, but you want to go on the lower time frames to see exactly what the market and what the price is doing at that moment. You definitely want to end up doing that, right? Super, super, super important. So yeah, after it breaks through, it's gonna retest, and after it retests, you go back to step 1 and realize it's gonna either bounce off of the support or the resistance, right? It's either gonna bounce off of the support and the resistance. Now, when it bounces off the support and the resistance, your job over this time is to learn the candlesticks. What's the proper way of saying how do the candlesticks move? What is that called? Knowing and being able to read the candlesticks and see what they're gonna do next. Why y'all put that in the chat? Let me edit this real quick. See what y'all said. Price action. Price action. Shout out to you, my brother. Price action. Right? Shout out to you, man, as well, man. Price action, super important, super important. Price action is when you're able to study the candlesticks and know exactly what the candlesticks are telling you, whether they're telling you it's exhaustion going down, whether they're telling you the wick is different on this side, whether they're telling you the candlesticks are it has an open, a high, a low, and a close, and you're able to see that it doesn't have a low, it only has a high because of the wick exhaustion and different things like that. For you being able to see, it's a three black crows, or I'm able to see that it's an evening star or a morning star or a doji candle. All of those things that sound probably foreign to a lot of people is because you haven't studied the candlesticks. I dropped in the chat the other day, the candlestick Bible. You all don't even, for those of you all that want to take it that far, definitely read it. But for a lot of you all, you can literally search on Google candlestick patterns, candlestick reversal patterns, and they'll show you when you should want to print out those candlestick patterns, and they tell you exactly what they do. Look, I'll Google it right now. Let's see. Y'all with me so far? Y'all getting some game? Let me know. So if you were to just Google candlestick patterns, go to images. You can literally pull these up. It breaks down exactly what it's supposed to do when you see that candlestick pattern. So if I were to look at this image to the top right, it shows the candlestick pattern and then where the market is supposed to go after that candlestick pattern shows. You'll be so surprised just how accurate this is. Just how many times out of 100 is accurate when it shows you these candlestick patterns. The problem is people don't study the candlestick patterns. They don't try to figure out what exactly they're looking at. They would rather just take signals. They would rather only take the easy way out. But family, you learn these and you get on an app like Colors, an app like DeLorean, an app like SkyPoint Scalper, an app like Pivots. Yo, it's like Thor. It's like having all the gems, man. So make sure you study those. It's an app called Japanese Candlestick Pattern App. Somebody said something about it not being on there anymore. Let me see. Still here. It's seeing like a different one. It's cool. All of them are gonna be dope. Literally download candlestick games and different things like that to study the candles. I promise you would thank me later, right? Because this stuff that you see with this line, you can see with the candles and be able to know exactly what it is that you're looking at. For example, who knows what this is called? Who knows what that's called? There's two ways that it could be said. It'd be Hulk too, but Hulk got weaknesses. I ain't gonna lie, Hulk done been beat up before. Double top, right? Double top. Or people call it an M, right? And something to understand about patterns like this. And something to understand about patterns like this is like for information when it's formed, this right here is going to be your median, right? If this zone breaks, it's most likely that it's going to drop after that. So if you were to see an M formation and you see that that zone broke, right? You see that it broke right there. You saw it came back to retest. Now you're looking for a candlestick pattern that shows what type of direction. Somebody bless me with the answer. If you're at this part right here, what type of candlestick do you want? What type of candlestick do you want? I'm not looking for a specific answer. I'm looking for the broad answer, the main answer. What type of candlestick are you looking for at that point? I'm seeing bullish. I'm seeing bearish. I'm seeing bullish. I'm seeing bearish. Come on now, y'all gotta look at this again. Y'all gotta look at this again. If it breaks my support, why would I be looking for it to go back up here? If it's an information and we just said, look, if it breaks the information, it's gonna sell. If it breaks the double top formation, it's gonna sell. So when it broke and it retested this, yes, it can go back up or go back down. But when we're looking at the confluence, right, which is all the different reasons to be able to get into a trade or not get into a trade, we see the fact that, look, we're right here. So now I need y'all to answer one more time. What type of candlesticks are we looking? Bearish. If you're new, you don't have to tell me you're new. It's okay. You don't have to explain yourself to me. I'm not getting on people for getting a wrong answer, but I'm just helping everybody understand it more. If you're new, that's beautiful. You get this information before a lot of people who've been in it for months, right? That wasn't because that it didn't break a resistance. This right here is a support, right? This is a support. This is resistance. Resistance is AKA ceiling, right? A resistance is an ceiling. A support is known as a floor. If we throw a ball off of the ceiling, what's it gonna do? Most likely bounce back down. Now, if we throw a ball off of the support, what's most likely that is gonna do, right? Bounce back up. And I'm talking about small bouncy ball, right? Nothing too crazy. And that's usually what you want to be able to understand about support and resistance. You also want to understand that your support can turn into a resistance, right? So in this case, this was our support. It didn't break it once. It didn't break it twice. Came back to the third time and it broke it. Now that it's above current price, it's not a resistance, but it hasn't broken a resistance, right? It's still under the resistance. If it's still under the resistance, there's no reason that I should be looking for a buy, because what history shows me in terms of trading is that when price comes to a resistance, more times than not, it's going to drop more than break through it, right? And so if we're looking at this and we see, we just said on the information, on a double top formation, that equals sell, right? Double top equals sell. Now, once it breaks that support on that double top, you're looking for a sell. But remember, after every single break, it has to retest. And once it retests, you're looking for it to either bounce off or break. But that bouncing off or breaking point is based on the other confluences that you have in the market, right? So for those of you all that are new, don't try to figure out and use this to just know everything. You take these down as notes and you study and you practice and you figure out exactly what was JD talking about on that call. Let me put it together. Let me go back and watch some of the recordings, family. Let me go on the IM Academy and listen, because he said all he did was study the IM Academy. All he did was study the Go Live educators. He didn't study and learn from anything else but Google image and candlestick patterns. So let me go try to do the same thing, right? Everybody with me? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Exactly. You got it. I'm gonna show y'all where everything's gonna be. I got you. It's gonna be a YouTube page. Cool. All right. So in a term like this, in an example like this, I can show you all kind of how it would look with candlestick patterns, right? So I'm gonna delete this part and show you all what it would look like with candlestick patterns once it breaks. So let me go ahead and get my draw on. Right. So it broke the support, right? Right. It broke the support. Let's say it dropped down just a little bit more, nothing too crazy. And then it shows a wick like that, right? Now we see the market go up, right? Change this. All right. Now, in this example, can anybody tell me what this pattern kind of looks like? What does this pattern look like? What's that called? Morning star, right? Morning star. Any name that you all see that gets dropped and you don't know what it means, that just means you need to go search instantly right after the call. They said morning star, let me go see exactly what that is. So I can never be in a position where there's something that I've heard once, I hear it again and I don't know what it means, right? For example, whenever I hear a word that I've never heard before in a movie, anything, I don't want to be ignorant to what it means. I'm gonna search exactly what it means. So if I ever hear it again, I'm gonna know what it means. So I can add it to my vernacular. It's the same thing with this business. Anytime that you hear something you don't know, make sure you write it down, you study it so you know what it means. It's not about knowing everything, it's about knowing everything and learning from everything that you've heard before and growing and studying what you can. All right. So this would be like a morning star. This will indicate a little upwards momentum, right? So we see that happen. And then the next candle shows this. I better not say nothing. All right, let's try that again. The thing about this is like it makes it go where it wants to based off the little analytics that it has. I'm not actually drawing it how I want. And let's say boom, boom, right? It wicked off of that. Now, most of the time when you have a break and retest, it's gonna wick off of the zone, the support of the resistance that is retesting, right? It's usually gonna wick off of that zone that is retesting off of. And that lets you know, all right, cool. That's low key my entry, right? So after you see a candlestick like that, you most likely gonna say, all right, cool. Next candlestick, I'm getting in for the sale. As long as it stays below it, boom, get in for the sale. That's what happens, right? Um, Make sure that you're taking notes of this. If you can write down and screenshot all of these things, definitely continue to do them. But those are going to be your differences. That's how the market is going to move on you. It's not going to move crazy, but if you understand these steps right here, right? If you understand it's either going to bounce off of the support of the resistance, right? It's going to consolidate, it's going to flow between. I can mark up, I'll mark up a little bit of this so you all can see exactly what that means, right? Do y'all want me to do that? Exactly. Look for the morning stars at the bottom of the downtrend. That indicates a reversal, indicates a transition, right? So let's just mark up a couple more. All right, I'm gonna just do this zone over here and then I'm gonna be done. And y'all, I got a little OCD, so my lines kind of gotta be like really perfect. So bear with me. A good thing to have. Okay, I'm gonna do like 3 more. But I'm only doing as many so y'all can see exactly like what it means for it to be. So when you're able to mark up your charts, it's simply just you being able to, you know, make everything make more sense. You being able to put the price between the zones so you can know what zone is going to go to next. Because if you're able to mark up the charts, you're able to see where the candlesticks are going to go next, based on the previous zones that you've marked up. I think I only need one more. That's cool. That's cool. All right. So let me make sure real quick, y'all. Yeah, I'll leave that out. So, all right, cool. I'll just stay right here. All right. So basically now when you're looking at the chart, you're able to see, the zones that it's gonna go to next based on the previous zone. So you're able to basically trap it and what it is. Now, clearly I haven't marked up every single support or resistance, but if you mark down the most important ones, right? And the most important zones, it depends on the time frame that you're looking at and things of that nature. What I like to do is I don't like to mark up all the zones on one time frame, right? What I would do is I would mark up, I would, first off, I'm paying attention to the area that I'm in right now, right? I wouldn't usually go back and mark up all these different zones like that. I would pay attention to the zone I'm in right now, which would be this. I'm marking up everything right here. And then I'm also going back in history. Let me go ahead and change the color on these. Let's see. Right. Yellow. All right. Make these yellow, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna see how did the price react to these zones in the history, right? Previously. I'm gonna go back and see how they reacted right here. All right, cool. Based on what I marked up, I'm seeing so far, we got some valid zones, right? Boom, 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 boom. We see it. This is a resistance zone right here. It was a resistance right here. This was such a major resistance that when it breaks major resistances and supports, it usually has to have a big candle like this, right? A huge candle like that, to be able to push the power through it because it's so, so, so strong, so, so heavy, right? That's why a lot of times when you see price break big zones, big support and resistances, it drops like crazy or it has big impulses either way, right? And so we could see that this was a major, major zone, right? We just see price being able to react certain ways. We can see, all right, when it's here, we can put a take profit right here. Take profit 1, take profit 2, take profit 3, off of this support. That would look something like this. And a lot of people wonder, how do they mark take profits? What are the take profits? What are supports? What are stop losses, right? And so when you're talking about a trade, it's pretty simple, right? Your take profits for a buy. Make sure I write this down. Your take profits for a buy are going to be based on your next resistances. Your take profits for a buy are going to be based on your next resistances. And the reason why you want to do that is because when it hits a resistance level, you don't know if it's going to bounce down or break through. We just talked about that, right? Resistance what happens at a lot of them is that it usually rejects it. Now, if it's a weak resistance, it'll definitely break through it, right? So I would make this my TP1, this my TP2, and this my TP3. Family, if you pay attention to each one of these take profits, you can see that it was a reason why I made each one of those resistance my take profits, because if you look, the price slowed down when it hit every single one of them, right? It went up, it hit this resistance, and it pulled down a little bit, right? It slowed down a little bit, then just break through. It hit it right this, it wicked on it, the body of the candle didn't break through. This one, same thing, didn't break through. So we see, all right, that was a perfect take profit, because now once it hit that take profit perfectly, family, remember, I didn't mark that up on this one. I marked that up way, way, way currently. This is back in January and February that we're looking at right now, right? So I can't make this up. Everything that you mark up that's legit will repeat itself in history, right? So that would be a take profit 1. You took your profits, and you got out of that trade, and you waited for another entry, right? You waited for it to break, and you got back in TP2, man. Or you held it, and you only put TP3, and you held it all the way to TP3, right? And so the reason why people have take profits, because like I said, you don't want it to hit a resistance or a support, and then pull back and you lose your break. You want to take your profit and then get back in, right? It's better off taking profit and profit versus you steady losing or losing your profits just from you being greedy and not disciplined, right? We see at the second take profit, we see it slow down a little bit right here too, right? Had a little bearish momentum right here when it hit it, but then it broke through. Same thing for TP3. We see when it TP3, we see when it hit it, slow down a little bit, right? Our stop loss is gonna be usually under our last zone. So we can see that our last, support zone over here that it will probably pull back to at the most, it would be this zone right here. It would be this support right here. So I put the stop loss a little bit below it to where in case if it goes back, it's usually just gonna bounce off and not touch my stop loss, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Cool, cool, cool. It's the same thing for, sales, right? It's the same thing for a sale. Let's say it's the opposite for up here, right? You got in a sale right here. You had your TP1, TP2, TP3, right? Went down, boom, hit TP1, hit TP2, but it pulled back. But at least you took your take profit and you were able to get your profits while it did go back, right? Now, some people might see when it's pulling back like that, they might say, oh, it's reversing, it's buying now instead of selling. But the person who has their chart marked up, they say, if it doesn't, as long as it doesn't break this zone right here, I don't care that it pulls back. And you see it did exactly that. You would have added another entry and been able to catch all of that. All of that. Now, the last thing I'm going to show y'all on this call, right? The last thing I'm going to show y'all is just how to maximize your profits on a big move like that, right? So if we're looking at this right here, we could just simply look at this. Let me make sure. Man, this is beautiful, family. This is beautiful, right? So on a move like this, say you got into your trade right here. You're holding the trade all the way to TP3. You're saying, you know what? I'm holding it forever. Matter of fact, I'm taking TP3 off, right? Remember, when you put in your trades, when you first start trading, you always want to make sure you put your take profit one in. Always want to make sure you put your take profits in so you can stay disciplined. Now, later on, months down the road, you might be able to take off, your TP2, TP3, and let it ride a little bit more based on the knowledge that you have on the charts. The problem is people take off their stop loss and take profit, don't even look at the chart, don't even mark it up. They just trust to other people's analysis or trust what other people say without figuring out on their own as well. Super, super, super important, right? So for everybody, when you get into a trade, right? Say you put in your first position, you do a smaller position. You say you do 0.05, right? You say, I'm gonna put in my 0.05 for my first entry, right? You hold your 0.05 to TP1. So 0.05, 3,000 pips from TP1 to TP2. I mean, from the entry to TP1, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Facts, 3,000 pips just from that move itself, right? So 3,000 pips with a 0.05, family, how much would you have made off of that first position? Off of that first position, family, 0.05 with 15, oh, did I say 3,000 pips? 0.05 is 50 cents per pip. If you don't know the lot size and things of that, we have an amazing foundations called by Chairwoman 10 Key, right? It's going to give you all the game on what you all need to do in order to understand those lot size. But 0.05 is 50 cents. 50 cents. So that's 1,500 pips. I mean, $1,500 off of the first entry that you put, right? So you got 1,500 off of the first entry that you put. Now we right here. We know that it's pulling back a little bit, but instead of you saying, oh, it's reversing, I'm getting out, you're able to go on and see, all right, cool, I can mark up a little support right here and see that it just bounced off, boom. So you actually add another position when it pulls back a little bit, right? So now you have a 0.05 and you have a 0.1, right? So you added a 0.1 right here at this pullback. You hold your 0.1 all the way to TP2, right? Now you actually put TP2 in your MT4 when you put this 0.1 position on there, because that one's a little bigger and you just want to secure the profits with that. So you hold your TP1, you hold your second entry from here to here, right? Let's see how many pips that is. I'm putting y'all on game, All right, let's see. It's like 4,300 pips. 4,300 pips with the 0.1, $4,300, right? $4,300. So now you have a position that you just closed with $4,300, 4,300 bucks, right? You also still have your first position with the 0.05. You still have the first position with a 0.05, and in total with that one all the way up to the TP2, you got 6,200 pips out of that one so far, right? So you up $3,100 in one entry, and in the second entry, you just made 4,200. So in total, so far, drop how much you up in the chat, right? You're up 3,100 in one entry, and you made 4,300 off of the other one. Sheesh, right? You up a good amount of bucks. So in that original smaller entry, right? That smaller lot size, you're holding that to TP3, right? You're holding that to TP3 on your MetaTrader 4, on your parameters, you put TP3, whatever number they sent for TP3 in your MetaTrader 4, right? You closed one entry for 4,300. Right now you're at TP2, right? You're still holding for TP3. Price is right here. You add one more entry. Remember, you added a 0.05, you added a 0.1. Family, do you think it'll be safe for you to drop a 0.2 now that you have at least $7,000 in your account with Bitcoin? You think you've been leveraging correctly this whole time? You think you'll be good? Let me know. What y'all think? I think you'll be straight. Cool. One more entry, family. On that 0.2, you held it from TP2 to TP3. You would have made, that would have been 1,800 pips. So with a 0.2, which is $2 per pip, $2 per pip, family. You have, if you're confused about these things, please, please, please make sure that you get on the basic training tonight and you start going through your IM Center on your academy, on your videos. If you don't know how to leverage that, hit up your mentor, and I promise you, they'll tell you, look, go right here, and watch these videos. Remember, JD said, watch the 100, 200 series on FRX. JD told you to tell them, right? So on this one, 1,800 pips with a 0.2, they just made 36. You just made 3,600 off of your third position. So in total, you have two closed positions. You actually have three closed positions. The first closed position is this third entry for 0.2. You made 3,600, right? The second entry that you had was that 0.1, and you made 4,300. So 4,300 plus the 3,600, what is that? 4,373. That's 7,900, right? So you're up 7,900 off two entries, and off this last entry, this 0.05, you caught that boy from the bottom to TP3 for 8,000 pips. Sheesh. This is from you holding the trade for at least a week or 2 weeks. This is real. Swing trading. It's from you actually holding the trade, right? This is what a lot of people do with long-term investments. People long-term invest Bitcoin, and they long-term invest it through intraday trading, through swing trading, right? So you don't just have to get in and out. You can hold these Bitcoin moves. People are getting rich off of holding big Bitcoin moves. whether it's a buy or a sell. It would have cost $4,000 extra off that original 0.05, 4,000 plus that 79. Family, do the math. That's all for you profiting and maximizing your profits instead of just holding one entry or just holding it to a certain level. Family, drop some fire in the chat if this training was of value, right? You're gonna find this training on the NASA YouTube, right? It's gonna be never abandon success again. Never abandon success again. If you actually go to the channel, it's several videos teaching you how to win for building a business as well as late night trading. We got Nigel getting on live a couple of times showing you how to really work it. I have 3 or 4 late night chart markups giving you the game. If you thought this training was decent, I have hours and hours of this on the page, right? Plenty of education. Make sure you search never abandon success again, family. I would advise every single person on here to subscribe. It's gonna be a lot of sauce on here. Never abandon success again, family. It will be on here within the next hour. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the top. The bottom is way too crowded. Let's run it up.